Good morning, everyone. It's Erin from Celebr8 again, off to do our classes, our free online classes with the beautiful Sandy Memories. I keep on to call it Sandy Toes. Live by the beach, so that's what happens with Sam. It's always Sandy Toes, but Sandy Memories, lots of fun. Always a pleasure and a privilege to go to the beach, even if you live at it. So this is in time for December, holidays, beach time. So all you'll need is your bulk pack. So in your bulk pack, obviously, you have your standard paper pack, the 2 chipboards, and your acetate. In this class today, we'll be doing 3 layouts, as usual. So layout number 1, beautiful doors at Oyster Bay. It was Oyster Bay, no, Storms River. There we go. Let's do this one. Then our second layout is with some of the most gorgeous ladies I know. Lara Hannah, Michelle van Wyk, Sandy Koch, Juliet. I can never pronounce your surname, Juliet, sorry, but Juliet. And then we also have a single with a beautiful Jenny Heaslip and Melissa Kennedy. All right, so we're going to start with layout 1 and work our way through. There is a cutting guide link. So if you haven't done your cutting guide, you'll need to pause now and do the cutting. And then we'll get started. At some point, I will get this right. I will actually have my numbering correct, but I've already noticed that I made a mistake with the lettering, not the cutting, so the cutting's fine. So for layout 1, you need to actually take piece 2A and 2B and swap them with 1A and 1B. So those two 12-inch pieces, just swap them in the piles. So you'll have 2A and 2B in pile 1, 1A, 1B in pile 2. So please don't be confused. Layout 1. So this one, make sure you have pages for you. That page and that page. They were labeled 2. They are supposed to be 1. I'm sorry. The background's very similar on this one. So please, we're going to start off with layouts 1, but the bases are numbered 2A and 2B. So please take those out. Or we'll just start again like we normally do now. I'll start with the left-hand side of the layout, and then we'll move on to the right-hand side of the layout. It just seems to work better for everybody to understand and get a better idea of placement. So first page is 2A. We are layout 1, reminding you, we are layout 1. And then we're going to work with a whole bunch of pieces from pile 1. Just grab the pieces quickly. I did sand my edges, so we're going to quickly do that step. I didn't sand beforehand because I just need to show you which pieces don't need to be sanded. So we have one L and one M, they join in the middle here. So please not sand the right-hand side and the left-hand side of those two. They join together. So I'll leave it there so you can just take note of that. And all the other pieces, you do not need to sand any other sandy pieces. So 1I, 1H, 1G, and all these little square pieces. So that would be from F, E, D, C. Okay, so none of the sandy pieces need to be sanded, incidentally. And then we're going to be doing this piece, that piece, that piece, and that piece. Okay, so we have 2 orange pieces to be sanded, 2 green pieces to be sanded. We have specific size of these 2. Please remember, I'll leave that up there while I'm sanding. And then we still have 1 end that we need to sand the edges to. Okay, sanding the edges just creates that nice white outline. So if you prefer chalking, you're welcome to chalk the white outline. Just trying to show you on the camera. You see how it's gone white like that. That's all we can do now. So let's quickly sand those pieces and then we can move on. I'm going to sand the ones that I need to remember first, just to avoid any confusion later on. Just going to grab a block to sand off of. Okay, so normally I work on the edge of the table, but obviously I can't do that because you already see what's going on. So that would be my edge of my table. I'm just going to sand. Have better control. Okay, I'm going to use the edge of the table now that I've shown you, just to make it go quicker. Just moving this pin across that way. Okay, so once you sanded one of them, just make sure that you're doing it the same way. So the blue lines up with the blue, vice versa. It doesn't matter if you're doing it upside down, but then obviously make sure you sand the right sides. So I'm going to be leaving this side alone. Start with the top. You're not going to see the angle with the camera. So if I change it, then you're not going to see me actually put the layouts together. So you all know how to sand. So you see, there we go. I haven't interfered with that join line. The marker's on though. All the other pieces. With the stripy blue and greens. Total of 3 pieces. Green pieces. So I just have to show you how cool is that with my nails. Can't even focus, sorry. I know Sandy would appreciate that. Yeah. I'm mentioning all these names, and it's incredible how the scrapping community is actually a community. And I'm mentioning all these beautiful ladies' names and the influence they've had on me. It's quite, yeah, quite honored. Started teaching. I didn't want to teach. I was forced into it with our very first event. First time I realized I was teaching was when Jenna sent the flyer out. And then the beautiful scrapbooks decided they'll help me out before the event and let me do a class, a smaller class at their shop, just to get used to the concept of teaching. So thank you, Taryn Johnson, yes, another beautiful soul. And now these amazing people are my friends. So it's pretty incredible. How life takes you down certain paths, unexpected joys along the way. People ask me what I do for a living. I don't explain. Like, either you're to say the craft industry if you like want to sound formal. But for those who know me, I'm very real. So I tell people, no, I cut and stick paper. And they look at me all skew. I was like, yep, I go to Australia and I cut and stick paper. I gets me to go there every year. And then it could be very skiff, but sorry, skiff for the Australian viewers means all skew. But hey, what better life can you have? Just creating and having fun while you do it, and traveling and meeting incredible people and meeting some of my heroes. It's quite a journey. Okay, so that's all we're sanding. So that's quick. So it's 2 orange, 2 little green, the special ones here, that one, and then all of these blocks that are sand, we are not sanding. You won't see it, so there's no point. Okay, so the very first piece we're going to put in place is going to be 1L. So let's put 1M out the way. 1L. This is a fairly flat layout. I say fairly flat because the frames are raised, but the rest is done fairly flat. For those who know my style, they'll understand why I say fairly flat. I like to make lots of dimension and shadows and all that stuff, but calming it down a bit after seeing the price of foam in Australia. It's like, maybe I should consider budgets because you're. That being said, a shipment has got Jenny, a distributor in Australia, who will sell foam sheets as well. So you can get them in packs. So I'm going to talk about foam sheets. It's like this. What Jenny's got basically exactly the same. And then there's adhesive on one side. So you'll just need to put adhesive on the other side. So I'll show you how you choose them later. Okay, so that's this one, and we are going to place it fairly soon. Just remember, the side that you didn't sand is going to go on the right hand side. Please make sure your hat is on your left. You've got a little seagull, trees, everything that side. Make sure you've got the right around. Okay, so you've got to make sure that you've got this life buoy there. And then I lost my ruler. Confirm my measurements. So this gets placed, don't freak out, if I see cut and stick over, an inch from the bottom. So an inch from the bottom. So going through the life buoy, inch from the bottom, flush against the side. Easy enough. Then we move on to our, just move these out the way. Okay. We have 1O and we have 1N, and then we'll need to be using a large orange piece, 1J. So they're going to go roughly like that. I will give you spacings shortly. These are all stuck down flat, no foam, just straight flat down. So I'm going to take all 3 at the same time just to make life go quicker. I'll not make life go quicker, make the class go quicker. Still not quick enough. Remember leaving little tuck spots. I want to make sure I lay this on there. This one. I'm leaving maybe a 1/4 of an inch from the edge, just in case I want to tuck something underneath. When you start decorating your layouts and making it your own, you may find that there's something there that you want to do that I didn't do, and the little tuck spot comes in quite handy. So we are going to start with the green one. So that will be 1O. 1O is a square. This pattern doesn't matter which way it goes, so don't panic. And again, I use the spacing or elements on the paper for our spacing just to make life easier instead of having to measure here, there, and everywhere. You can see I messed up a little bit with my sanding there. So I'm going to see where it would be covered. So if I do it that way, it's going to be covered up. So I'm going to do it that way. Okay. When you look at your base page, you'll see there's a little seagull on top of the patio roof. So I'm going to line them up with the top of the seagull's head, well, above the seagull's head, but to the left of the head, and then just a little bit higher, so above that white crashing wave. That's where he's going to go. So for those who are wanting specifics, that's totally not going to be a proper measurement. It's just under 5 inches from the bottom and about 3.5 in from the side. If I use the seagull and the wave, yes, the wave, the seagull. So seagull's the left-hand side, the wave is just underneath. We're going to move on to 1N, green. Okay, the patterns need to make sure we go sideways. Sideways. We've already stuck down the first one that was green and it will automatically be sideways, as you see here. So we're continuing to keep the pattern in the same direction. This placement is a little bit obscure. So he does overlap the green ever so slightly, well, actually more than slightly. So when you look at your palm leaves are going up, there's one heading towards the seagull, and there's one underneath that one. If you use the center of it there, of the palm, stick it there, and that will be your spacing. I'll give you measurements for those again who are nervous about thumb sucking. It is 1.5 from the left and 1/2 from the top. Then we move on to our beautiful orange piece, 1J. 1J. It is square, so it doesn't matter which way you do it, and this pattern can go anyway, so don't stress about that. Just see what you prefer. Stick this one down. Also nice and flat. Please remember, if I'm going too fast for you via the video, the whole point of the video is that you can pause it and do it at your own leisure. Don't stress, just enjoy it. I'm just going through it for those people who are fast so they don't end up sitting waiting for me. So again, I just want to check what I did height-wise. So it's about 2 inches from the top. So I'm just going to measure 2 inches from the top. And it's just slightly in from this. So let's go 2 inches here, 2 inches, and slightly in. So we see a little bit. So you're going to overlap the green of the stripes and the leaves. Like that. Right. Easy enough. Next steps, you need 1G, just a big sand piece of paper. You're going to need your little squares. Squares, some of them, not all of them, but take it out. And then we're going to need the frames that we fussy cut out. Okay. So this is where we get a little bit dimensional. I only dimensioned the frames, so I put foam tape around the back of the frames, so the frames stick out. If you look at the layouts, the photos are sunk in to the frame. It's the only purpose of that. So our sand pieces, we can stick flat down. But before you do that, please just make sure that you're working with your frames to make sure your spacing is correct, which it should be. And we're only going to be sticking total of three little sandy pieces down at this point. And 1, 2, and then another frame here. Okay. So you're only needing 4 frames at this point and 3 sandy pieces of paper. So put tape on the back of the sandy pieces first. We don't have to sand the edges of them. There's quite a mess here. These are your photo mats. See, if we put the frames around it, it's a little bit different coming up soon. Let's put tape on all 3 of them. This one, working with the frames, I didn't want to take up too much of the picture, so this frame goes to the chair, to edge of chair like that, and then goes a little bit above the green. So that's just to give you an idea of placement. So just up a little bit like that. Yeah, we're not sticking it down, that's just for placement idea. So you have your little chair down here. You're going to reach the arm of the chair. It's closest to the house itself. And just line it up like that. Okay. Just keep that in place because it will make your life a lot easier for the next few steps. So let's do the square one first, well, big one, double square. Sandy piece. We're going to line it up centered to that. And then the blue line at the top. Yeah. There and there. And stick it down. Nice and easy. Now we need to take a little frame. Make sure we leave a little bit of the blue at the top. So you can just imagine a little blue at the top, like that, and a little bit on the side. So when your frame goes over, you're still seeing a little bit of a blue edging. This is not stuck down, I'm just showing you how it's going to be for you. Right, then the next one lines up with that one. And then I did it so that the frame, okay, frame is close to the point, top point of the house. So make sure you line these up. Leaving enough space for the frames in between. So I'm going to do to ensure that. Let's put my frame in place as if it's stuck down. This frame. These are lining up on the sides. The left-hand sides line up. There, okay. Right. Sorry, the sand I'm making will go horizontal. You hardly notice the sand, but so there. Right. And these You may want to put them on after you've put your photos on. I just used some foam. Obviously, if you have narrow foam tape, this is fine to use foam tape. I'm just going to use my foam sheets because my tape is quite wide anyway, so I'll need to cut it narrower. So this is great. Unfortunately, it's too thick, so I'd have to cut it in half anyway. So I'm just going to use the foam sheets and my guillotine to cut the dimension pieces. So this is the side that doesn't have adhesive on. So I'm just making a double-sided adhesive. And just because it's thin strips, I'm going to put tape right next to each other to make sure that it's all covered. Hopefully be enough. Let's see. Grab my guillotine again. When I remember where I put it. Just put it here. It's funny how big things can just disappear. Right. Okay, well, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm just going to cut it with a ruler and a blade. Wasting time looking for guillotine. So we know these frames are approximately 1/2 inch wide, so we need to make sure it's less than that so we don't have overlaps. So I'm going to mark just under 1/2 inch. Under 1/2 inch. So for those who've got narrow foam tape, this is a much easier step for you. Actually just so we need to cut a few pieces like this. Yeah. For those who want to stick it in place, but are going to battle to feed the photo through, just leave the top open and you can feed the photo through by the top. So now I'm just eyeballing. Why not? Always cut through twice just to make sure. Measurements should be two of the same. So at this point, you're welcome to leave them off until you've got your photos printed, or if you have your photos already, put them on and then put these frames on. Like that. The frame doesn't matter which way around it goes, it's square, so just make sure you're working with that one being by the chair. Coming up, making a nice square with frame, which should be a little bit under the blue, side of the top of the other one. So I'm lining these two together and I'm lining these two together. And there's your first frame in place. Let's do the little ones quickly first before I move on to what I did differently with this one. These will be smaller strips. Just cut to the center. There's a bump here. There's a bump. They don't have to be perfect. No one's going to see these little back things. So I'm just going to make sure it's slightly shorter. I cut 4 of them the same size there. It will be 2 size of both the blocks. Just make your life easier. Cool. So we can turn both these frames over. You obviously don't want any overhang. You want to see the foam. It needs to be a little bit smaller than paper. The sticky stuck to the tape. Oh no. Just gonna re-sticky this. So if you didn't push the tape down, push it down, otherwise you'd have to do it again. And I'm just going to make sure now, I'm just going to rub it, make sure it will stick. And then we're going to do the shorter pieces. I don't even waste not one knot, so this was the leftover from the big ones, the big one. I'm going to just measure a piece from there, cut him off. Three pieces like that. Because I have another piece of offcut, all the offcut pieces here that I'm going to just make up for the last piece. Oh, I have leftover pieces. Nothing has to go to waste. So very done. Down nicely. Let's put it in place. So remember, we're lining up at the top there, leaving a small border. And down, okay, the photos in place. such a big mix next to me. I have a bin right here, but I'm just chucking on the table. So this one lines up with the left hand side of that one. Covering the sand block. Nice little gap there. And down we go. This one we haven't done anything with yet. We're going to do something a little bit strange, a little bit different. This here is a shaker box. Actually, the things aren't shaking around much at the moment. With a chipboard behind, and there's some little fussy cut pieces. So this one is going to be a little bit different, where we are going to use plastic from one of the chipboard covers. And so any other packets from the chipboard that you've got from us. So we're going to place it roughly. Let's do an easy way. Let's put tape on it. Nice flat tape, remember? Not foam tape, flat tape. Back for a shaker box. Okay. All four sides. Yes, all four sides. 3 sides comes in just now. Plastic, backing bars, chipboards. Just to save yourself some time and energy, you may as well go right to the edge on the one, less cussing. Doesn't matter if you're not straight. Stuck on plastic. Stuck on. And I'm just going to go scissors. This off. You can cut slightly underneath. That's what the tuck spot is. There's the plastic coming out. You'll end up with 2 layers of plastic. You'll see. So the one will just fall away and the other one will stay. There we go. Doesn't want to come off because it's on one side. And that's the cover of your shaker box. So you get the light to catch it. Yeah. Then we're going to do the same as what we did with the frames before to make it dimensional. Okay. Obviously, you can't stick this one in place until you've done the chipboard because that needs to be stuck down first. But we can prep for when you're ready to get going on to that point. This one. I'll get a team actually. How lovely cuts through. I don't know what to put it. I need a second, but it's pretty right in front of me. I just don't see it. Measurement. And then even the top, but we're not sticking it down yet, so don't worry. It's just to have the tape in place for when we're finishing up. So that one, once we're done with the chipboard and Fasika elements, it's going to be stuck, lined up this side. See the chair, and then a little orange there, and a little bluey stripe down there. That is the first side of layout 1. Not bad. That aside, let's move on to the second page of layout 1. Clean one away as I go. So remember, we swapped them around. We're wanting 2B, not 1B, 2B. You still have these, all the rest of the power ones. Here. So we've already sanded. You will need the first part, the other side, so we can line these up and stick that down nice and flat. So let's do that first. Nicely. And make sure you're using it the right way around. So the side that hasn't been sanded comes against this edge. Too close. There we go. Easy placement. And then we can put this away for now. Let me just make sure. Okay. Then we're moving on to the orange and the green. So you can put tape on the back of these again because these are nice and flat. So 1P and 1K. Tape on the back. So we have 1P and 1K at the moment. So you see what I mean by the tuck spot? I'm just going to tuck ever so slightly behind it. There is a seagull there somewhere. There's the seagull. Okay. So I'm going to tuck it underneath there slightly, and then halfway up the seagull's wings. And again, I've done a bit of a mess with this sanding. So it's a square block. I'm going to just turn around so I can tuck it out of the way. And about halfway up the seagull's wings, next to the palm tree. halfway up the seagull's wings. Seagull here. Put it as cross as much as possible, so you're not covering much of the palm tree at all, but nice and straight. So it's on the edge of the palm. You can use a horizon line to make sure you're straight, and obviously above there. Check, I think it's an inch here, an inch from the top. Nice and easy. And then we're going to do tuck spots again with this one, just so we have our placements correct. So now you see the joys of tuck spots. Another little square. We're going to use the seagull again as our marker. So you see, I use everything to get the back of this paper off. Whatever's handy. Okay, it's a square, so it doesn't really matter. You're going to tuck it under. And the orange piece, just a little bit. So you're lining it up. Just next to that seagull. Like that. Easy peasy. Then we go on to our sand ones. Now please note, have a good look at your sand ones. One eye, the sand is going horizontal, so it's a portrait shape. Please have a look. You'll see grains. It's not vital, but for the ones who are a bit pedantic, it will affect you. So the sand is going horizontal on eye and a portrait format. This one's going horizontal and a landscape format. All right, so you need to keep those in mind. You can put tape on the back of these two. So one H and one I. And again, we're going to use the frames that we have left over, not the ones that we worked with already. So we have this one, that's going to end up going just off the central line, like that. So you have, so there we go. So just onto the orange, I think. I'm just going to check, sure. This one lines up the left-hand side of that. And we have a little one. It has a similar border. And we have another little one that comes on like that. We're only going to work with the big ones for now. So remember, look at your paper nicely and see that the patterns are going horizontal. So this one, paper's going horizontal. I'm going to stick him where this frame's going. So if you want, if you're a bit nervous about the frame thing, I just do a little, open it up a little bit, and then I do a little pencil dot roughly where I need to stick it. Double check. Yep, that works. So pencil mark again. It's going to get covered up anyway. So a little bit off from the join line on the other page, overlapping the green, bluey stripe paper, overlapping the orange, and down it goes. Your remaining piece, now the portrait shape one. Easier once the first piece is in. Use as your guide. Your frames coming in. Always keep your frames just to make sure you don't get too close to other things. Should line up there. It will do. Okay, line up there, and then this here. Let's see. Lines up to the left, and I'll give you a measurement from the bottom. Measurement from the bottom is 2 inches. So 2 inches from the bottom. So those frames go like that. And then these strips do have offcuts. Cuts. Find more valuable stuff in the mess. Right. And again, cut these. Yeah, the same size, they just changed in format. So one is horizontal, one is vertical, but the size of your line pieces are going to be the same. Seven, 2, 3. Is sorry, clean that a little bit. It's stuck here. Second one, do the wrong size as well. It's time to use offcuts just to clean up a little bit here. Longer ones. Shape. That's one ready. Next one, just use all these cuts again. Just cut another strip. I'm just taking it to the end of my tape. We're still going to have to do smaller frames. So I'm just going to cut 2 strips while we're at it. Maybe 3. Oh, when do I start to cut? It came out. Two will be enough. And see, I'm not measuring, I'm just making sure it fits. Just make a marker. Because I want to cut through the paper. I'm just going to cut the mess. So, this one's also ready to be put in place. Stick them in place quickly. And then we can move on to the smaller squares. It's a variation that you can do on this layout. The one smaller square, I put one of the quotes in the quote sheet. If you prefer to put a photo in, there is an extra piece, sandy piece that's been cut for you. So I'm going to do it as if I'm going to put an extra photo in. But you're welcome to put a quote in which case you won't need to put the sandy piece in. Just explain to you here. Small one. This one I put a quote in instead of a photo, but I'm going to do, for the sake of the class, for a photo. Oh, sticky, sticky. Spacing there, red lining up, nice and straight. Use the yellows. Makes it clear for you to see where I put the phone. So we're lining up with the left-hand side. Keeping a little frame, top and bottom. Stitching anything. Nice and straight, and down it goes. We have 2 little frames left and 2 sandy little blocks left. So you can put tape on the back of the sandy blocks. And be aware of which way the grain of sand is running. So it's square. So you just need to orientate it. So I'm going to make sure the sand is going that way. This one I lined up with the bottom of this one, leaving a nice little orange square. So again, let's put a pencil mark on the frame. Put it there. Frame should cover all of this stuff. And it does. Perfect. So, yeah, there we go. So you can go down. Then the next sandy one. Again, this is where I put the quote in. So you can take a quote from the quote sheet if you prefer. Line it up with the top of this one. leaving a nice little border so it overlaps the green. So, oh, the tree of sand is going horizontal. I almost made a mistake. And down, so the frame goes on. Okay, and the foam, the frames. Do two simultaneously again. So this is going to be the longer piece. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, every way. 2, 1. A bit extra there. 2. Check your little cuts that you might want to use. This one here. And still got that long piece that we've cut. 3 full length. 1. So just measure 1. 2, 3. And then just a little piece to fill in that gap there. There we go. So I'm just going to finish off the one with a little bit of offcut. Now, quick and easy, we just stick them in place over the sandy squares. So again, lining up not on that one, but having a nice little orange frame on the right hand side. And the last one. So lining up at the top of this one, leaving a nice little frame. And then done with this one. Then that is layout 1 done, apart from the fussy cutting and finishing off the little shaker box. But how was that? Layout number 1 done. Ultimately, that's what's going to get you. A little bit, I'll show you the shaker box later. But the actual format, you have done layout 1. I'm going to pause the video for a little bit just so I can clean up and get ready for layout 2. But well done, layout 1 is done. Back for round 2, and here is layout number 2 with all my gorgeous friends. This is when we had our Celebr8 online class event and all these lovely ladies taught. So this is layout number 2. As I mentioned before, obviously there might have been a break if you guys have done classes in 2 separate days, whatever. I did label the base pages wrong, so we are now working with layout with base page 1A and 1B, not 2A and 2B. They were used on the original layout. This is now the second layout. So please keep in mind that you're needing to use 1A and 1B. On this layout, I did do sanding, which you're going to do together, but there's 2 pieces that you need to keep in mind that mustn't be sanded completely, and that is 2F and 2E. They should join up in the middle like this. So where they're the join in the middle, we're not going to sand, but we're going to sand around the outside of that. So if we can sand the pieces, and then we can start making the second layout. So put this one aside for now, and I'm going to do the 2 ones so I don't forget. I am likely to forget. So for those who didn't see in the first class, I normally use the edge of my table to sand, so I'm just showing you as if this will do the edge of my table. It makes the sanding process much quicker. I'm going to move to the edge of the table now. I'll let you see what I mean. Okay, so we're going to sand top, bottom, and left-hand side of 2E. Tag off for now. To do the ones I need to remember something specific about first, and then my brain switched off for a little bit. It's 2E. Picture still line up. Yep, 100%. So I'm going to actually move the label onto that side. So I'm going to sand that side at all. Those are the ones that we need to keep notes of. Now, just to make sure we sand the right sides of every piece, I'm going to start with the pieces that we're going to use on the left-hand side of the page. So you can actually keep them aside once we've sanded them, because then you'll know this is for your left-hand side. So we are using the wood part, wood grain side, on 2M, 2H, and 2L. And then we're using the green on 2Q. We're using the orange on 2G, and we're using the sand on 2D. So you can sand those. These are all for your left-hand side of your page. So once you've sanded them, just keep them in a pile, except from the ones you haven't sanded yet. We're getting more and more efficient at this scrapbooking stuff now. Okay, ladies, if I'm going too fast, please just pause and carry on. That's the whole point of a pre-recorded class. You can pause it, walk around, have some coffee, glass of wine, depending on what time of day it is. Maybe not depending on what time of day it is, but it's to have fun. This layout has a little bit more dimension than the last. That being said, it's actually only the photomatting and the titles that are raised. I think no, this is a little bit more. So Your labels on. So I'm going to leave these out so you can see which side was sanded. It's just me cracking my fender. Dust off. So the label across. It's 2Q, green side. G, 2D. So these pieces are all for your left-hand side of your page. So if you want to put them in that separate pile. So those are the pieces we sanded for the left-hand side. Put them all together. Also, we don't have to separate them just now. And then your remaining pieces. Use the wood grain, wood grain, wood grain, orange, sandy. And, so there we go. Some sandies and the green. Okay, so 2K, 2I, and 2J are all the wood grain side. 2C is the sand side. 2N is the orange side, and 2P is the green. All right. This is now going to be for the right-hand side of your layout. I'll leave them on the cutting board, so cutting that so you can see. That was sanded if you're not keeping up. It's 2P. Orange side. 2N at the moment. Orange side of 2N. I'm going to start sneezing just now. I can actually see the particles of sand, dust in the air. So 2N, so around 2N. On C, you don't have to worry about one of the long sides. If you want to sand it, you're welcome to, but you're not going to see it. Being a skinny piece, it is a little bit tricky to sand. Just control it a little bit. So as long as you do one side, one long side, and the top and the bottom, will be good. Just enjoy sanding, you're welcome to sand. Yes, you just won't see it. Okay, 2J. Right side. It is going to be going horizontally. Just a heads up for later. To I, and the last one. Okay. Again, wood rings going horizontally, portrait shape. Okay, and this will be your right hand side. All these pieces. Let's go through them again. So 2K is on the wood side, 2J wood side, 2I wood side, 2C sand side. One long side needs to be sanded in the top and bottom. 2N, the orange side, all four sides, and 2P, green side, all four sides. And that is going to be the right hand side of your page. So we're going to start with the left hand side, which, as I said, is 1A, not 2A, 1A. So you can take that little label off for now. Just chuck it away. Try ignore my mistake. Okay. So 2E is going to go flush here. We're not sticking anything down yet. I just want to explain the layout. Then we're going to move on to 2Q. It's coming underneath there. 2G. And then we'll have a little bit of 2D. Okay, this will all make sense. We'll start putting it together. Your wood grains are still waiting to be placed. Okay, now this is up to you whether you want to go and do layering like I did. I didn't do it too intense. I think there's a total of, when it gets to the photo mats, it's a total of 3 layers. So it's not as intense as I can make it. But if you want to do it flat and just have your photo mats raised, you're welcome to. Or when you get to this stage here, start raising from here. It'll also be effective. But I'm going to do it as I did in my actual project. Yeah, you can see there's layers raised all over the place. But I'll walk you through that. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is stick down the wood grain I mean, not the wood grain, the sandy piece. And that is even matted. So we're starting with everything being not matted, being foam taped. So everything is going to be foam taped. So this could end up being expensive layers. Let me see if I can just do a substitute version. Now let's do it this way, and then we'll take it from there. So I found my guillotine, by the way. It was right behind me. So I can show you how to use the foam. So first piece we're going to cut is for 2D. It's a little piece. We can actually use up leftover foam from 2D. So we're just going to cut it slightly smaller than what it is. It's supposed to be 3.5 by 1.5. So I'm going to cut about 2.5, 3/4. We need our tuck spots. Okay, and I'm going to stick it onto the back of this one. Please don't start sticking foam onto the back of everything, because some share layers, so there's overlaps and steps. Okay, this one we will need a ruler so I can give you your placements. It's 3 inches in from the left, so I'm going to go 3 inches in from the left, put a little pencil mark top, drop it out, and then 1/2 inch from the top. So there's my, and 1/2 inch from the top. That is your top left corner. So make a little dot. And it's going horizontally, so the sand is going horizontally as well. So we found a little dot, which is there. So you see where the clouds are coming up. Just goes into those clouds. Nice straight line along the top. And it goes down in place. So move 2E out the way for now. We'll put in place shortly, but into the background first. Then we're going to move on to 2G, which overlaps ever so slightly. So we've got to be aware of that. And with that one, I did use the house as part of my measuring guide. And see how far across I came. Okay, so it's along the palm. Okay, so basically, you want to use your seagull. The seagull's beak is on the right-hand side of the paper. And then we have a little light above the signage on the house. So it goes here. I will give you measurements. So again, the importance of having tuck spots when we do the foam for this, make sure there's enough space around it that we don't overlap this one. So that is supposed to be 2 by 6. I'm going to do it by 1 by 5 maybe. Big enough, I think. No, definitely not. So 1. I don't have to do the exact sizes. I'll use my leftovers towards the end. There's a size that's suitable. I actually think I might need a little bit broader than that. There we go, a little bit broader. So just to show you what I mean, I wasn't too happy. It's not going to hold really nicely. So I'm going to just a little off that piece. I'm not even measuring. I'm just going to a little sliver and add that in. Right, so remember we've got our little lights on our house. I'll show you here. There's like a little light on the house there. We're using that as a marker. And then it's going along the palm, so the beak is the other side. Let me show you put it in place. There's the lights, there's the beak. You overlap the sand ever so slightly. light, beak. Measurements for those who want measurements. Put it down first, straight hopefully. Oh, gone over my already. Okay, so that is roughly 1.5 from the left and 1 3/4 down from the top. Next step is to cue the green side. And again, if we leave a nice tuck spot, so this one's going to be overlapping the sand and the orange. So I need to make sure that we don't overlap them. We want them all to be the same height at the end of the day. We're not trying to make one higher than the other. So this one, we're going to make sure we leave enough of a tuck spot on the left side and the top. I'm going to start using some offcuts, scissors. Prefer to use up a full sheet of foam before I move on to the next sheet. What you can alternatively do, because we know where it's going to be covering, you can be clever and make sure you don't overlap and just stick it onto the layout. That. So we'll do that one just as a little hint. Handy tip. It's a lovely position like that. Obviously that's not pieces not nearly big enough. So I need to check with, again, my pencil's going to come into play. I use the door for my marker this time. So there's a door here. So that is my marker. It's just above the door. That's pretty much the corner of the door that it lines up with. It's just covering the orange and then lining up top of the door. So I'm going to put them in place. Take my pencil, put a marker in the corners, just in a little bit because you don't want to put foam, obviously, remember our tuck spots. And that's the area I know I need to, I can scribble in here, doesn't matter, because no one's going to see it. So I just want to make sure here, so here is roughly where I need to put it. We get ourselves too worked up about being perfect. Let's just have some fun. Foam on the side actually could be enough already. So beyond that, so we're going to stick it down there. Let's see if we do that. Just in case. It does get laid up there. So narrow little strips. So that's the foam in place for the green without even putting tape on the green. Pull the tape off. At least you're guaranteed not to be overlapping. It's a little bit hard to get the tape off. There. Just put the tape here. Just gonna put it off and put a new piece on. The joys of the foam. Doesn't rip it or anything. And also I use everything to peel this covering off. My nails are too thick. Okay, so the door corner is our marking point. So overlap the orange ever so slightly. The sand, the top of the door, and nice and straight. Measurements for that one are, let's see, it's the door. So it's just over 3.5 from the bottom and just under 3.5 from the left-hand side. If you use those markers, it's the easiest way to make sure that you are on the right track. 2E will now come into play. 2E is going to get stuck flush against the right-hand side of your page, so there's no sanding there. And again, we're going to see it's the same layer, same level as the others. So it does go over there slightly, so it goes over the brown ever so slightly, and then there's a gap at the bottom. So I'm just going to put a little pencil mark there, and a pencil mark here. I'm just sticking my pencil just slightly under the paper, just to make sure I don't go over the marks. So you can see there's a line here, there's a line here. Okay, this one, this is where we've got to watch out for where the layering is. And there's a line here. So that's where I know I need to put my foam in. So here we go. We have, to confirm, you can see it's going to cover all of that. So I'm going to work on the base page just to ensure we do not do any incorrect overlapping. Check this side just now. The right areas. Okay. So we need to fill in a gap roughly 1.5 by 7. So the small gaps. 7. There we go. And then we just fill in this bottom section here. Offcuts. So that's about 1 by 6, I suppose. You have some funny little gaps that you can just use offcuts to fill in. See, I got some funny little bits and pieces, so just make the pieces work. Yeah, I think some of that one must work there. So you make your own puzzle. Messy puzzle, but it's still a puzzle. Obviously, you need to put tape on the back. But to ensure that this all sticks down properly, I'm going to put the tape on the back of this as opposed to the back of this. So when we stick it down, it still sticks to the green. Right, obviously, the ones that have already got sticky stuff on, I'm just going to pull the backing off so it doesn't prevent it from sticking. But now we can put it onto the actual back of the paper. Just be careful at this point. If you've unstuck something, move it right out of the way so you don't put your paper on it. Now I'm working with 2E and still leaving tuck spots. Big piece. I'm just going to secure it down nicely. And off we go. We're just done. We know exactly where this is going to go. Foam in place, pencil marks in place. Make sure you put it the right way around though. The non-standard side goes towards the right-hand side. Oh, I just made a mistake there. Non-standard side, right-hand side. And there you go. That's complicated as that part gets. The photo massings, or should I say the remaining pieces of the wood grain are photo mattings and a title massing. And I just layered them all with foam so they can just get straight word foams on the back of the piece of each piece. So I'm going to turn it all over and just put foam on the back of it. Use all cuts first. Open piece. For this bigger piece, we will need to cut a piece of foam. So cut by 5 by roughly 7.5, 7.25. That's 7.5, 7.25 around about there. They've all got their massings, their foam. However, all these little extra off-cut pieces, we will be using them. You stick your fussy cut elements on, they come in handy. Just on the right-hand side of the page. Let's see how we go. You can go over, so there is no foam. Everyone's going to see. Which one is which piece, so I'm just going to move it out the way. So this is the piece we're working with. Before we stick them down, we're just going to make sure everything looks good. So we're going to have these pieces. Make sure. So there's a nice little border around them, like that, there. And then this one comes down to that marker there. Nice and easy. Let's just go with the big one first. Big wood grain one. Place first. Honestly. Up it. So if you look at your paper, you have a row of ropes, and then you have just with some knots there, and then there's another section with no knots. I'm going to do it just above, or on top of the second row of no knots. And then this piece is going to line up with that one with just a little bit of border. And the final piece for this side. You're just going to have a little bit of an orange border at the bottom, and on the left hand side, little orange border. Stick it down. Okay, so for measurements, for these two, the biggest thing is to have a nice space. I did leave more of a gap at the bottom, as I'm going to put some embellishments, which obviously you don't have to do when I put these little bottle embellishments at the bottom. So that's why I left a little bit of an extra space. And this photo mat. So the smaller photo matting is roughly 1 3/4 in from the left. And then you'll know from the orange, you'll see from your orange pieces that this how it's fine. And these are nicely in the blue pieces. So that's the left-hand side of your set layout done. Now 1B, which is actually layout 2, 1B, moving on to that. Okay. Remember we have these two matching up. So you just need to keep in mind that these two are going to line up. So I'm going to keep it in place for now just to make sure that everything fits nicely together. Okay, your photo mats can be left aside. So your brown ones, your wood grain ones, just leave those aside. Those aren't going to be needed right away. You're going to need 2N, 2C, and 2P. So 2N is 4.5 by 4. And that's going to be stuck underneath here. So it's bigger than a tuck spot. So we're going to have to be careful. Make sure we put that one down first. Okay, that one, I think it's called mother-in-law's tongue, this plant here, the yellow and green. It's going to go right next to that plant. Then we're going to have 2P come over and just underlap under, just under that one. So that's basically the palm. And then we're going to have this little one slipping under here. Let's just do that one first, and then that one. The position of the house. Okay, so you've got a rough idea of how the layout is going to be done before we start. Definitely does help the situation, because then you know what you're doing with your foam. So the first piece you need to sit down is the orange piece, and that is on one layer of foam. So I'm not going to fiddle too much. What's going on here? Yeah, just marking it. You don't have ruler, scissors, just a little snip. Fine. Just snipping it down a bit. So the orange piece needs to go in first. Doesn't really matter which way it goes. I had it more portrait, so that it was 4 cross, 4.5 high. It's not really too much of a fuss. It was just the way the paper came out. It's just to press some orange on the other side of the layout. Again, remember your tuck spots, but just in case. All right. So the main thing is this blue needs to line up, the blue on that side. And this is going under, so we need to make sure that's in place. Make sure we go under. And then we're going to go right next to the yellow and green plant towards the leaf that's going upwards, and just a small gap off the bottom. So just like that. Okay, so if you want measurements, we've got blue around 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, 1/8 of an inch by about 5.5. Next piece is going to be 2C. But 2C, as you can see, overlaps the orange quite a bit here. So we're going to have to work on the upper half with the foam. That one comes in, let's see this measurement I can give you. 3/4 in from the bottom. So 3/4 in from the bottom. So we're only going to put foam on the top section of it. But remember, your sanded side needs to be on the right-hand side. Make sure you know which is your top. Keep your marker maybe towards the top, whatever you've used to label it. And here we can start using some of our leftover pieces. There's nothing wrong with going backwards and forwards and checking and playing. So from the side, it's just under 6 inches in from the side. So I'm going to embark right there. And then just about 3/4 seems a bit off. Just make sure. So it is. Yes, you can feel. Oh, I haven't put foam there, so I need to put a piece of foam in that section. And then we need to tape it down. So this one I did it on the paper just because it's such a narrow piece of paper we're sticking down. So I'm going to tape over. Okay. It is going to go down a level, so I'm just going to push it down like that. It becomes 2 separate pieces, so better. Right. So remember, we're having a small orange border, slightly larger orange border, and it's being stuck there. You want to confirm, put your first piece, and this needs to go just under where that blue piece will reach. If you want to do that, and maybe put a pencil mark to make sure that you're happy with your positioning, which I think I'm going to do just to be on the safe side. So I'm quite happy with it being positioned there. Dot. So here's my little dot. That is the bottom right corner. Make it nice and straight. So you can use the side of the orange paper to see if you're going nice and straight. Up, up, up. Oopsie. Up. And remember, we have a tuck spot, so this is not a problem. See where the tuck spot comes in. So this one, we can just put foam nicely in the middle because where the overlaps are on the edges. So that's really no problem at all. If you've got any leftover pieces, I do. I've got a few little scraps lying around. decent size scrap. Make sure you put the tape on the foam on the right side of the paper. We're using the green side, so we want to put tape on the back side. So start using markers now. Just make it fit. Even these tiny little pieces come in handy. Oops. There it is. Make it nice and flat. Okay. Tape over it. Just add too much tape here. So snip it off. Rub it on. And so this one, it doesn't matter which way around it goes. Obviously, it's going to be a portrait shape. And positioning wise, we're using this house as a part of our positioning. It's going to be tucked slightly under. Don't spin on there. No, it should be okay. Tucked slightly under the sand piece. And then until it lines up with the house. So it just touches the roof of the house. So the seagull's wing, just the tip of it's being snipped off of the green piece. Like that. And everything's going to make sense when we put this in place. All comes together. So it all comes together like that. Which it does look like this one has gone skew. I'll try to fix it a little bit. Thankfully, a palm tree goes over that, so if you've done it a bit skew like I have, it's not the end of the world. The palm tree will fix it. And I'm going to grab another piece of foam because I run out of pieces. Okay, we're going to use the base page again. So I need to fill out the space that's approximately 5 by cutting into rectangles 5 by say 6. Remember, it's going to be lining up. So put your pages together. Make sure your foam is below the maximum height. Yeah. Have a nice off-cut piece I've got to work over here. As you can see, it's going too far. Far beyond there, so I'm just going to trim it down. Tack it off. And then we're going to put tape on the back of the blue one. Away. So we're just working with blue. No foam, just tape. just in case. So just take this piece of paper down. About all of the blue pieces line up. Remember, the one edge has been sanded. That needs to be on the right hand side. Line up your knots, your patterns. Stick it down. There we go. Awesome. And we're going to move on to our photo mats, which are 3 wood grain. They all need to have foam mounted to the back of it. Do that in the meantime. You see, I'm using my leftovers as I go. I've only got a few little pieces of foam left, which will probably come in handy when it comes to fussy cutting elements in. Biggest piece, so I'm going to make it 3.5 by, say, 5.5. 3.5, 5.5. That's for 2K. Same, I think. Or 2I. Let's see what leftover pieces we have to put in the last one. I have enough leftovers to put up the last one. Is that it doesn't have to be perfect. No one sees the back. A little bit nervous about the photo not holding nice and straight, so I'm just going to put another piece there. There's got a few little off-cut pieces, but not much. Tape on the back of these. Okay, remember our wood grain is going the same way. So wood grain is running horizontal, horizontal, horizontal. You will need your first half with placements. So your portrait shape, it's running horizontal. We're going to line up to the top of this side. Line up to top, little space, little border. And down it goes. And the larger of the horizontal pieces are going to line up with the left-hand side of the piece you've just stuck down. Side lines up with the bottom of the piece from the other left-hand side of the layout, and it's stuck down. And then finally, this one. Oh, I made a mistake here. I forgot a step. Okay, this one, we need to add some extra foam. So thank goodness for our little foam bits and pieces. He gets stuck just above the windows of the house, but he's double layered. So there's a layer here already. So we need to double layer on the paper to just above the windows. I'm just going to do a pencil mark, and so we double layered there. Show you this will be easier to see where I'm double layering. So yes, these little offcuts are for. Everyone's can be helpful. Just keep it on sorry again. Right. There you go. So here are your windows. Come with your palm. Some green exposed. Make sure your wood grain is horizontal. And down it goes. And that is the basics of your second layout. So I just, obviously you'll be adding your own fussy cut elements and things. I'll show you the chipboard techniques after all the layouts have been done. But just for this bottle thing, and I don't want you to miss out, so I don't know if you can see it on the camera nicely, but it actually does like a rolling effect. What I've done to make it look like bottles is I've taken some double-sided tape. I'm using really small pieces. So double-sided tape. Just to give you a rough idea on how to do it. It's lots of tiny little pieces. Turn the bottles over. Where the center of the bottle is, I've put the foam. So where the higher part of the bottles are, not just the bigger bottles, I'll go back to the smaller ones, just the table's too long for that. So I'm going to back, I'm going to spin. So Just all the bottle, doesn't matter what size the bottle is. The middle of the bottle gets foam. And the little gaps between just get normal tape. So you're going to force it to create little waves, little humps when you stick it down. You do need to use the back of a pencil or a scoring tool when you stick it down, just to make sure that the little flat pieces are also stuck down. So I'm going to stick this one in place just so you can see how it's done. Fussy cut thing that's a bit unusual. Obviously use 2 rows of the bottles and then just put a joining piece in on my layout. That's got over the bottle, but the bottle doesn't aim in the air, so I have to do that. If there's any tape over the edges, just trim it off. So I just want to share my layout again. This is where they went. So I'm just going to work on the left-hand side of it. I joined them with a different fussy cut bottle. This wasn't quite long enough. So they basically go from this side of the wood through to the side of the wood with the joining piece in the middle. So to stick it in place, just make sure the tape is stuck down nicely. I only do a section at a time, just to make sure I have control while I'm sticking it down. So I'll cut, let's see, maybe 5 bottles. It is a pain to take tape off between 2 higher pieces of tape. So I'm going to actually do all the lower tapes first. Once you get stuck to the upper one. Obviously, you can work the paper before you stick it down. Just wriggle it a bit and get some movement into it. Just plays nicer. It'll work nicer. It's funny. Better. To one of them. Much easier to do. Watching in the camera, you don't see the full detail on how it works. Once you put your layout, then you'll see, wow, I did it. Really enjoyed the effect. Now I wanted the bottles to meet in the middle, so I only left a small gap. So I started. Make sure you start on one side. You don't stick it all down at once. So up. Now pushing it down. Push down that bottle. Let's see what I'm doing. Okay, there we're up again, and then we're going to push down. Then we're up again, and we're going to push down. Okay, so what you can do is take your pencil and just rub in those grooves. Make sure that middle one is sticking. Obviously, if you've got a scoring tool or something, you can use that as well. I just like to use what I've got on my desk already, so I don't have to look at anything else. Okay, it's not covering up what I'm doing. And you can go back and you can just rub it so your bottles end up with a rounded face. get up on camera now. Try to get the right angle. You can start to see that they're going semi-rounded, a little bit of a curved shape. So that's how you do that. So do the same on the other side. But that is layout 2, the basics. I'm just going to clean up and then I'm going to come back and we'll do the third layout shortly. I'll see you shortly. Now for layout 3, the singles. This one I just had loads of fun with. It was just a case of letting my hair down and doing some different stuff. So you'll see there's waves. The shells have been filled in. These are chipboard shells, have been filled in with paper from the collection. It's just a fun one. So it's really simple. Run through it with you. It's super fun. I've done lots of layers. Again, you're welcome to do it flat. That will work just as well. But here we go. All right, so you should only have pile 3 left. The base of the layout is obviously 3C. That's the only one that's 12 by 12 still. And then we're going to work with 3A. Now I got really messy with this one. And I used distress tools. If you don't have distress tools, you can use scissors. And I made it as fluffy and messy as possible because, not to be funny, but the beach is not a tidy place. It is messy, sand gets everywhere. It's unpredictable, but that's what makes it beautiful. So I've gone really, really crazy. If you don't like that, if you want to chalk or you want to sand rather, go for it. This tearing part definitely does give a better effect of the waves than being all neat and tidy. Waves are far from perfect. So it's just letting go a little bit. But first of all, we're going to start off with taking 3A, 3K, 3P, 3F, all the pieces, but not the blue pieces. How's that? That makes it a lot easier to say. So you take all the pieces, but not these 3, and not the base page, not that one. So these 4 pieces, just put aside. Then you're going to attach these remaining pieces. And on the big piece, we're using a sand side. 2 green pieces. 1 with a pattern. The orange. On the one side, we're actually using the wood grain, not the orange side. So I'm going to just swap the labels around. And the long skinny piece is also the wood side. So the way you see the papers, that's how we are going to distress them. So we're going to get super messy, super rough, and just get all the frustrations out. So don't completely destroy your paper. We'll get to that when we do the waves. That's so you can tear and have some fun. Sometimes we're too controlled and too perfect and too lined up. This time I thought, oh, let's just have a fun one. Wow. Messy. You might actually just knock your little tool out so it's too clogged. To here. Messy. This is messy's good this time. So compare the edges. Messy. I like the messy. Okay, you are going to make a lot of dust and mess, but that's okay. Why not? You might find paper clogs in your little distress tool. Just flick it out with a pencil or something if you need to. I'll paper is quite thick, so it does tend to clog these little tools. It's easy enough just to get it out. Snow. It's moved from dust to snow. The paper rips a little bit here and there. Also, not a problem. It's supposed to be a rough, almost mixed media type layout. So we're not really using much in the way of mixed media. No, it's just paper and chipboard. So that's nice. And taking the labels off, I'll be able to explain to you on the patterns which piece is which. Messy, 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 messy. Let's see. Okay, this, you need to make sure the wood grain is going vertical, so the lines, and you just need to do the top and the bottom. Actually, just the top, to be honest. So just the top of the one. Get two pieces that are the same size. And the second one, make sure your lines are lining up, because it's cut from the same piece of wood. You need to do the right hand side. And the bottom. So there's line up, bit of distress there, no distress there and there. And then your long one, your long wood braid one, just one long side. And the bottom. Oh, sorry. So it'll be the left side and then the bottom. Okay. The sandy one, make sure the sand is going this way. So it's in a landscape format. There's two sides and the bottom. And if paper goes wonky like that, read it or not. You guys use the word wonky. The South African slang. Easy as that. Take our base page. I liked it with the ropes going horizontally, so that's how it worked. And the first piece we're going to stick down is the sand, but it needs to be mounted on foam. Okay, doesn't have to be, but I like it to be. So I'm just going to more or less the right size. The tuck spots. I'm going to put a little extra on the top just in case. These are drawers of foam, it's just so quick. Easy. It's a little bit too narrow, but it'll do. Here we go. Right. And tape. Get stuck down. So one side, the side has not been distressed. That's the top side. So we're going to line it up to have an equal frame between the left, right, and bottom. So there's going to be a bigger chunk at the top exposed. So roughly there. Wood grained. And that I believe I also raised because I just went crazy on this one. Controlled myself on the double layers and left the phone crazy for single. Okay, one side again, we didn't distress. That's going to go on the right hand side. And then this piece goes quite close to the edge, little sand border. Again, there'll be a bigger gap at the top. That's how it's supposed to be. We're not sticking this one down yet, the big green, but that's so we can see placement. So the big green is going to go there. And remember the distress at the top, distress at the side of the bottom, like that. This is going to go in there like that, and then we'll put that on. So you have an idea of what's going on. So if I'm wanting to do that, that should be there. There's nothing wrong with using your papers to help you with your markers. I'm going to put a marker here, because that's where I want to have my first piece of the grain. Again, sounds good. there. This is going to come like this. Up. The pieces are bigger than what they need to be. It's just that there are scraps that have already been cut, so it's important cutting them down even more. Once, just to be sure. Put a marker in. So I leave a nice gap of the green above it. I'll actually even put it down a little bit more. This one you can play with. Okay, so I'm using that marker there. Remember keeping the wood grain facing the right way and the distress section up at the top. Lining up your two wood pieces so it looks like one when we put the other page in. And we're going to move on to our pretty pattern one. And that's going to line up with the edge of that. Like that. Now, obviously, this is going to be the same height as this, so we need to fill in this section with foam. Do that there. Put our little markers in. That's my mark. And fill it in. Oops, use an offcut. And I've run out of offcuts, so I'm going to cut that piece up. Two-inch strip, and then we're just going to strips. That one is a bit wide. I want to go beyond the marker, as you'll see this yellow foam. Right. So again, the tape is going to go onto the back of the piece we're using. The beautiful pattern. Turn it over. Tape on the sand side. Make sure your pattern's facing the right way around. If you look carefully, you'll see there's bottles. Make sure the bottles are standing upright. Line up with the left-hand side of the wood. And stick it down. Okay, this one needs to be filled in here as well as have a full layer of foam on the back. So let's put a full layer of foam on the back first. Let's see how lazy I am. I don't measure, just like around about. Work wonderfully. I'm looking for a pencil. Super lazy. Now we need to fill in this gap. The wood grain, the green, let's get it that way around, is going to go just above the wood grain and just below that wood grain over there. So there's a gap in between. So just put a little marker inside there. Above, we know where to stop. I'm going to fill in this space with foam. So all of that, and then fill with foam. I'm just scribbling on my nails. That's fun, actually. The person is losing the plot a bit. Watching a program about being on your own, surviving in the wild. And it's amazing how crazy people get when they're on their own for too long. Like, I'm just talking to a camera. I'm not even on my own. Dennis is a wall behind me, and I'm acting like a loony bin. So interesting. True nature's coming out. Watch out, ours next year. Yes, we're going to put foam, tape on the foam. Make sure we've covered everywhere. Covered. Markers, so I'm going to use those. There it is. There you go. Check that one. Slightly over double bit. Go. And then this one is going to line up. I don't think it actually lines up with anything. It doesn't, no. That's just fun. Okay, so this one also needs some foam behind. Yeah, this one's doubled up on foam. We have this one is landscape. So wider. So there'll be a little gap in here that I'll need to fill in. So just put a pencil mark there. It's just a little gap, but it is important that we put something there, otherwise it's going to fold under. Skinny little leftovers. Skinny. It's our marker. Tape on the back of the foam sheet of paper. Little markers. Have a little bit of the pattern showing on the right hand side. Bag for wood grain. And you can stick it down. Right, the next part is the interesting part. We've done the basic part of the layouts. See what we've done so far. Now we need to create the waves. So the waves are obviously all the blue pieces. And This is up to you how crazy you go, how not so crazy you go. Start with, I took the lightest blue one, turned it upside down, and just started tearing away one side. It's important that you have it the stripy side facing you when you're tearing, because you're going to curl back this tear, and it becomes, the white becomes the front, it becomes like the foam of the actual wave itself. Don't think, just do. You can go absolutely crazy. I'm not sure. You can see how rough I am. I'm just going wild. Just go for it. Absolutely go for it. If you're not happy with something, tear it a bit more. Just go absolutely wild. Then you're going to do the same with the second blue one. Make sure facing the other way around, facing pattern side, and you're going to tear off as wild and natural and free as you like. These are not supposed to be straight. Please don't tear with a ruler. This is supposed to be like waves, so make it a bit wavy. It's not going to look the part at all. Beating crazy. Lie down, and I'm just going to very nice. And then the final one, dark blue one, same story, turn it over, tear away as you like. It doesn't go as you like, it goes as it likes, so just roll with it. It's supposed to be fun, not stressful. It's fun. And again, go wild. Get it back. Right. Just like that, you've created your waves. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. How easy was that? Super easy, super fun. I'm going to show you how to do the angle though. So what I've done now, I'm going to show you step by step. We're going to take foam tape, because it doesn't have to be too high above each other. So on the back, on the straight section, not the straight, the section you've gone wild, on the right side, on the blue color, you're going to put your foam like that, on the double-sided tape. Same with this one, light blue or the medium blue. You're not going to do it to the dark blue. Too late to about that. Ultimately, that's how they're going to get stuck together, is through those foam sheets like that. All right, so I am going to put them all together now, keeping in mind my layout. Be fine. Just check. So if I'm wanting to do roughly, I don't want to take too much of my photo. It's roughly there, and I'll make sure I get all my colors in. Go roughly there. And I'm doing that from the angle again. So I still don't want to take too much of my photos. There. Roughly there, like that. Okay, so your waves are separate. Okay, obviously you can put it straight on. It's a bit boring, in my opinion, but if that's the way you like it, that's fine. I wanted to keep the same gap I have at the bottom here. which is roughly 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 of an inch, mark it on your piece of paper here. So now you need to see how much you need to trim off. See, I'm being wild, I'm just being rough. So it's on top, you can measure 3/4 there. I'm wanting it skew, so I'm going to take my ruler and line it up with the sand piece of paper, and then take my pencil and draw a pencil line, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So make sure you line up with your sandpaper, sand on the other side. Then you need your trimmer. Trimmers aren't made for this, so don't do it too often, because obviously we've got some foam tape that in there. These tonic ones are fantastic. You'll see your pencil line. Okay, I don't know if you can, you probably won't. But when you're working with it, you'll see your pencil line on your paper. So you're going to line your pencil line up with the edge of the blade, so the bottom blade, the silver at the bottom, whatever you're using. You're welcome to use scissors if you don't want to use your trimmer. And we're just going to slice it. It takes a little bit of effort. We're going to slice it off. Before you do the second side, just make sure that you have done enough coverage, that your line is still accurate, which mine is. And you're going to do the same on the other side. So you see your pencil mark, line the top of your pencil mark, bottom of your pencil mark. Might be a little bit tricky with scissors, because there's lots of waves there. Let's see, pencil mark, pencil mark, pencil mark. There's the top of my pencil mark. Get that highlight at the top of the pencil mark. There, and then make it skew along your pencil mark, so you know you're going to be cutting along that line. See, 13s don't particularly like this. I wouldn't recommend doing it too often. Right, and then we have the top is now going to be obviously skew. We've got our pencil mark there, so we need that 90 degrees to this marking. What is going to be the easiest way to show you that? Okay. 90 degrees. So it's going to be, remember our marking is on the side down at the bottom. Could mark it from the other side, it's fine. But 90 degrees will make the squares. So we're going to just keep going up, 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 up until we find our marker. Done. And that's how your waves work. Easy peasy. Okay, obviously this one though, our base here was laid down with foam. So we'll need to use foam to put the first layer in place, just to ensure that it lines up with the paper. So we're going to have the same size border along the bottom. So I'm using quick cuts. My foam and my foam tape are slightly different thicknesses. That's the only reason I'm mentioning this. So same border. Tuck spot or not? Yeah. Okay. And a little bit more. Tuck spot. But for me, I still want the waves a little bit higher. So I took my foam tape. Top. Away. Lined up to my spacing. And there you have it. There is your second layout with enough space for our titles to go on the dark blue. I'm going to pause the video quickly just so I can clean up again, but I'll come back and I'll show you all the chipboards for all the layouts and the acetate and a few other little bits and pieces. So I'll see you shortly, but you've done the basics of 3 layouts. Well done. I'll chat to you just now. All right, we're back. So these are the other elements that were in your bulk pack. You've got 2 chipboard and you've got yourself an acetate. So I'm going to work through each item separately and then I'll show you where they went on the layouts. So memories made in flip-flops. I used the hint of pesto and the aloe vera and straw. I think it's thatch straw. It's easy. I should be using a craft mat. Let's just actually do things properly for a change. Craft mat. So we're working with this, the first chipboard. And I said use those 3. Myself a Fantastics tool. You can use a paintbrush. Use. So you need those 3 inks, 2 tools of some sort to apply the ink, and a spritz bottle. So that's good. Okay. First of all, I'm going to start off with the yellow. I'm going to switch the yellow on the pad. So the yellow again is thatched straw. You see, no, it's thatched straw. It's a Versa Magic thatched straw. So I'm just going to, and I'm going to color in made and a circle in with the yellow. Straightforward coloring in. This one is going to go into your shaker box. That's stuck down so it doesn't shake, but the other elements in the box shake. I don't like to waste, coming towards the end of what I need to use the yellow for, so I'm just going to take my sponge and go around like that, so I don't have to squish that a whole lot on my mat. So made in flip-flops, or made in, should I say? And then I used the aloe vera, hint of pesto, more hint of pesto than the aloe vera, but it was just slightly too dark for my liking. So I just mixed them as I went. I haven't spritz, so here you play. It's not supposed to be a perfect color or tone. Some supposed to be darker, some are supposed to be lighter. It's kind of to look like palm leaves. They're not all the same green, exact same green, so just dip into both and obviously be careful with the lettuce join the yellow. You don't want to over. It wants me to look a bit more natural, not one tone. Just a case of squeezing them both onto the mat and using the same tool with both. Careful along here, so fantastic tools are great. Lots of control. There you go. This is the therapeutic side of it for me. Just make it your own. Somebody can try copy you, but there's no way they'll get exactly the same. It's just free. And same with flip-flops. Sure. Oops, it's the same technique. With this technique, I recommend being rough, but obviously not where other letters are joining, other colors are joining. So be very careful where the I is and where the E and memories touch, because that's still want the words to look like the words they are. Almost done. Make it yellow. Again, if you don't have the exact colors or you don't like these colors, just make sure it goes with whatever photos you're using or the collection you're using. I'd like doing a bright purple wouldn't really work here. Okay, so that's made in flip-flops. So to show you on the layout, made in flip-flops. Made in flip-flops. Then the next title on that chipboard. So I clear away the ink so I don't. That's it. Okay, so I'm just clearing away the ink from the previous title. So these aside. So far I've used thatched straw, aloe vera, and hint of pesto. Now the next one is for layout number 3. And for this one, I used, let's see it, Cloud White. Just going to grab it quickly. So let's go wild with Cloud White. If you're a bit nervous, which I am at the moment, I'm going to quickly cut off the color title just so I don't ink it. I'm happy with the way it is now. So there you go. He's happy, he's done, he's out the way. I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, so here we're going to go for waves or rainbows, or we're going to call them. Color that all white. Color all of this white. White. Just go mad. Cloud whites on everything. All cloud whites. Then we're going to color in the section or the words good and lines to make it a more of an orangey color, like the orange paper. Just clean up again. Just make sure you've got a clean tool for that. And this time I'm going to use red brick and then back to the thatch straw. So red brick. It's a little bit too dark for me and it wasn't quite orange enough. So I added some straw. Press with water. Again, I use the same technique as before where I just, so it doesn't even have to be the same color to make it look more natural. So it's more like a seashell color. The red is quite intense, so just be careful how much you pick up of that red brick. And just to be aware, there's a little heart on the tan lines that also needs to be colored in. I'm rushing. You can see I've gone a little bit on the T from tan. I don't want to do that. So a bit slower. Okay, when it's dried, my little mishap, I'm going to put white over it again. Try to cover up my mistake. So nothing fancy, just having fun with it. Here you have to choose whether you're wanting M to stay completely white or if you're wanting to have that L come up. So I'm going to imagine the L line and have it come up. It's not going to be perfect, but you're going to have to look really close to see the flaws. So clean up that white patch again. Go back over and just a little bit. Right. So that's that chipboard colored. This is your title for your third layout. And I'll explain the pattern as well. So there you have good times and tan lines. There we go, good times, tan lines. Then this gets a little bit more complicated. You have to use your creativity a little bit. This part I chopped up. So I used the lines of the circles. So I'll just show you, just chop there, chop there. Okay, so I'm wanting to keep those arches, but I needed multiple versions of them. So I'm going to cut there. And what's joining these is this arch here. So I'm going to keep that arch, follow that arch along, keep that arch, follow it along, follow the same line, follow the same line. It's It's better to do this with a craft knife. Just for case of showing you. Change mass the whole time and follow that line. So you've cut it apart once. I need 3 pieces. So now we are going to go keep that arch. Keep that arch. Keep that arch. And keep that arch. So now we have 3 pieces with the arches like this. And you probably didn't even see it on the layout. Explain to you. Look under the waves there. It's the white foam poking through. So I lined it up underneath the dark blue and had the white foam coming through. So that's where that chipboard goes. That's what you dry. Now we move on to our second chipboard. It's loads of fun as well. These I'm going to have to cut loose first because the technique is a bit weird. So I'm going to cut away these little triangular wavy pieces. And loose. And here I used, and there's a title. We were given a free title as well, weren't we? Yes, we were. Walking on Sunshine. Walking on Sunshine. So I'll do that one. Yeah, I'm going to do this one at the same time instead of doing the chipboard at a time. Because it's the same technique, so I don't have to waste ink. So I'm just going to do it simultaneously. Okay, nice and easy. We're going to squish somewhere else, squish somewhere else. 3 squishes should be fine. Squish somewhere else. Okay. Lots of squishing, lots of spritzing. Then we're just going to go over and go wild. Now I might be missing a little bit of color on the towards the end, different tones. So we're just going to do it one more time to get the effect going. So dark on there, so it's a light pat. Where didn't I get color? I get color on that one there somewhere. There somewhere. The E is missing a little bit of color, so just add that. More. Okay. So I'm quite happy with that title. It's hard to see, isn't it? Walking on Sunshine. That goes on layout 2. Walking on Sunshine. And then let's just see if I'm happy with these colors. I want a little bit of variation. I don't want it all. See, there we go. That's a technique I'm looking for, where it's mottled. It's not just flat color. I need to add a little bit of a lighter blue to this one. There you go. And those also went on layout 2 up in the corner. There's the one, and there's the other one. So remember, this one was raised, so you can tuck it just underneath the paper to have those little waves popping out. So those are those ones done. Again. Right, then we have all these lovely elements. I didn't use all of them, to be honest, but nothing stopping you from making a card or doing something with them. The shells I had lots of fun with. So the shells I just snipped out. Show you how basic and easy this is. Okay, you had your little scraps of paper from your last. Oh goodness, so much that. Okay, so I'm just going to do 3. So you can see what I was. You'll get the idea of just 3 of the shells. Looking for some leftovers quickly. I think would be appropriate. Just looking for little leftovers of paper. So we've got that one here ready. Let's get that. So I've got that there. Just going to grab my glue. Right, so all I did, made sure I'd snipped off all those little joiny pieces. Again, better to do with a blade. And then put glue on the back. And stuck it onto the paper, which I'm not going to have time now to show you. But I literally just, once it was dried, I cut around it, cut them out. I'll show you close on the layout where they are so you can see the full effects. That's something fun to do with little elements that are given in packs sometimes. So you can see there, just cut it loose here. I don't want to cut too close, otherwise it's going to move and then I'm not going to have a nice. Yeah. Okay, so when the glue dries, then you trim around and keep the shell shape with the paper behind. Show you close up. Okay, so it's trimmed around. That goes on to layout 3. And I layered them. I had loads of fun with them. See, there's the orange paper, there's the green paper, there's a blue stripy paper. Little offcuts. I just had fun with them, just played with them. Then I moved on to the blue boy. Cut loose. There we go. And this was just a straightforward. The glue that we already used, I think Sea Breeze, yes. Let that dry, and then I went back around, and on this thin little line, I painted white, just so the rope was a slightly different color. You don't even have to do that if you don't want to, but that goes there behind the good times and tan lines. And I went on to an anchor. I think I'll show you the anchor just now. I'll first show you a slop, flip-flop, a thong, whatever you want to call them. So I made sure I got a pair, so left foot and the right foot. And again, I use the combination of these two colors that are used on the good and lines. So just quickly do it again. So you could have actually colored at the same time. I just forgot about the flip-flops. Oh, just whatever. Just quick color, just like you did with the wording. Obviously try and make them look similar. It's supposed to be a pair of shoes. And those are the flip-flops. There they are. Maybe I should be able to see them clearly. The flip-flops. They also went on to layout 3. See the little sandy patch there. Where else do I need to show you? Okay, the anchor. Anchor is slightly different. I don't always use this because not everybody has access to an embossing tool. But I used Brilliance. So even if you don't want to do the embossing part of it, you don't have to. Brilliance Platinum Planets to color my cute little anchor. I actually love this color. So as is, without doing anything more, you can use it just like that. While it was still wet, I added embossing powder onto it. That's upside down, I think. Yeah. So while it's still wet, Versa Magic works just the same as embossing ink when it comes to this kind of thing. Jesus. Okay. 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 Typical. That's right. You know, it's going to be mottled, but that could be quite an interesting effect. Okay, so this is just a cooking tray, so I don't burn through everything. It's very handy to have a pair of tweezers. It's something just to hold out in place. Let's see if Erin is going to start to bubble and melt. So there you go. There is the little anchor. And that was also used on layout 3, the top here. Finally, the acetate. I'm not going to actually use acetate. I'll just show you where I use it on the layouts, because you can see clearly what's what here. So this acetate here, the patterns, I used, which I'll find it. Sure, I used it. I did use it. Okay, well, let me start with layout 1 and I'll show you from layout 1 what. Okay, these little ones, these little flip-flop tracks went onto layout 1. Layout 1. That's all I used on layout 1. Layout 2. Oops, there we go. Layout 2. I used the patterns, cut it up, and put them in the opposite corners of the chipboard one. So if you see, there's a chipboard, and then there's the white top, and the chipboard, and the white bottom. Use that. And then With the third layout, I used vitamin C. Okay, you can use these if you want. I might even add over some of the photos where there's a little gap, but that's where I used the acetate. Just for the shaker box, now that you've colored your title, you can stick your title in place. So this was layout 1. Stick your title in place, you'll see where it was supposed to go. You can just put a loose pair of flip-flops that you've cut out, some shells that you've cut out, put them roughly in place once the glue is dried around the chipboard, and then stick your frame over the top, and it'll hold it all together. But that is it. That little couple of fussy cut things, nothing too out of the ordinary. I showed you the bottles, so just remember the bottles going up and down, up and down, up and down. And obviously you can layer chipboard, so don't forget, like layering chipboard here, the layering the cluster there, just having some fun with it. Those are your 3 layouts, and thank you so much for joining me. And I think you're going to be in for a surprise with the next teacher, hopefully. Let's see. So, but thanks for your support. I appreciate it so much. Cheers.